Bert, your friendly cabinet making instructor. In this video I'm going to show you how to install an overlay drawer front. We have here a frame and panel drawer front. Rails and stiles are 2 1/4 inch stock to match our door stock, and for this front we have a 1/4 inch plywood panel in the center. We have here a drawer that is installed with side mount drawer slides, and we are now going to attach this front to the front of the drawer. When we do this, we want to ensure that our drawer front lines up with the door that is below it. So for this cabinet we have 16-inch wide drawer fronts and doors. We also want this distance here to be consistent across both, and this distance from the top of the cabinet to the top of the drawer front to be consistent. One problem that we run into when installing these drawer fronts is that it's very difficult to determine the exact precise location on a drawer that is pulled out and not up flush to the cabinet. So we have to determine where this front is going to go and attach it, and then when the drawer is closed, hope that it's in the correct position. The best way to attach a drawer front is with screws. If you glue your drawer front on, you will have a very difficult time getting it in the right spot. And over time, as the drawer wears, or if you have to adjust your drawer slides, you have the potential of getting your drawer crooked or out of alignment with the doors and neighboring drawer fronts. So we install them with special screws. I have here drawer front mounting screws. See if I can hold a couple up here for you to see. These are a wood screw that have a large washer manufactured right into the screw. These are 1-inch screws, but you can get them in different lengths depending on the thickness of your drawer box material. So we know that we need a 1/2 inch overlay all around the opening. This is a 15-inch by 5-inch opening, which is pretty common, and so our drawer front is 16 by 6. So we know that we need a 1/2 inch top and bottom, and the best way to achieve this, or to determine that position here, is to make yourself a scrap stick, or a gauge block would be a good term for this. A block that's going to determine one position. So first we're going to work on the vertical position to ensure that we're getting this exactly a 1/2 inch, giving us a 1/2 inch overlay top and bottom. So what I've done is I've measured the side of the cabinet here from the face frame to the bottom of the drawer, determined that that is 1/4 inch, and I know that I need to be a 1/2 inch below the face frame here, 1/2 inch above and below. So this being a 1/4 inch gap, and I need a 1/2 inch, I know that a 3/4 inch space from the bottom of the drawer to the edge of the drawer front down here will give me the overlay that I want. So what I do is I just cut a scrap stick. In this case it's really simple because this is 3/4 inch plywood, and I'm going to clamp that to the bottom of my drawer front, and that is going to give me my position for my vertical overlay. So we're going to do that first. And quick grips work the best for this. A couple little rubber padded quick grips. clamping it flush to the bottom edge of my drawer front. Alright, now we can verify that this is right by just holding this up to our drawer, bring it up to there, and then sight down or put a tape measure or something on there and just look to see if we are indeed a half-inch overlay top and bottom. And this looks like it is correct. I used this same block for this drawer, and that is a good policy when you're installing multiple fronts. Use the same test block, gauge block, to locate your drawer fronts. So now this piece, this gauge block, will come up flush to the bottom of the drawer. If I hold it up there tight, that will locate it vertically for me. Now we need to drill holes in the front to hold the screws, or for the screws to hold the front on. We can't drill through the plywood. That's not very strong and it won't hold. So we need to drill into the stile. We need that to be into solid wood. What we're going to do is drill a large hole. It's actually, we're going to use a 1/4 of an inch bit, which is significantly larger than our screw. And the reason for that is that if we mount this front and find that it is not exactly where we want it, we can loosen the screws and move the drawer front around, up and down, back and forth, because this hole, or the hole, is larger than the shank of the screw, and that gives us some allowance. And now we can see why the screw has such a big head. That's so that it will cover the 1/4 inch hole and give us lots of lateral and up and down adjustment. We need to make sure that we're drilling into the solid wood, which this is 2 1/4, and I know just from doing the math that we have a 1/2 inch gap for our slide and a 1/2 inch overlay, so there should be 1 inch of slide hanging over the front of the drawer to the right and left, and our stock is 9/16. So if we are 1 1/2, roughly 1 9/16, and then we move into the box a little bit, we know from this 1 inch point, 1 inch out here, that the stock is 2 1/4 wide. So we could, in a sense, we could just put a tape measure up here, put it at the 1 inch mark, because that's our overlay, and then come out here to 2 1/4. So we have to be within that 2 1/4 mark to ensure that we're going to be drilling into solid stock. I have already determined that if I measure in 1 inch here, that will give me about 5/16, 1/4 inch to 5/16 stock into the solid wood of the stile, and it'll be plenty to hold the drawer front on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the front . Get you a little closer here, and I'm going to use a good old pink metallic Sharpie because my aging eyes can't see a little pencil mark on there. This is going to be covered once we put the front on there, so a pink mark is not going to be a problem. I know that I want it to be roughly centered just to make it easier and look more symmetrical. It's a 4 inch drawer. There's 2 inches. I'm going to be approximately 1 inch in, so I'm going to put a little mark there, and then I'll measure in 1 inch, and I'll put another mark there. Where those two lines cross, that will be my center mark for my drill bit. We'll do the same here. And now we're ready to drill. Again, this is a 1/4 inch brad point bit, and I'm going to drill just a hole straight through the box. I have found that if I'm angling it the wrong way, or towards the wall of the cabinet, or the drawer, sorry, it'll be very difficult to get the screwdriver in there to tighten the screw. So I tend to be straight parallel with the side, or even slightly inclined in towards the center of the drawer. And here we go. And there's the holes. Don't panic. They do look big, but that's exactly what we need. And now we have to transfer the center of those holes to the back side of our drawer front. And this is where we've already got the gauge block on the bottom, but now we need to determine the horizontal location, right and left. I'm going to hold this up on the bottom of the drawer, and then I'll measure from the side and set this at 1 inch. Again, because I know I have a 1/2 inch overlay, and there's a 1/2 inch for the drawer slide. We're at 1 inch. I'm going to use another quick grip to the box. And I'll use 2 here. And I'll double check once it's clamped. It's a little bit under 1 inch. It's a little bit over, so we're going to adjust it a little bit to the right. That looks pretty good. And now I'll give you a little tour. You can see the gauge block here. There's 1 inch distance here. We know that the gauge block is set to the bottom of the drawer. And so we should be in the correct position. We can't just close the drawer, obviously, because all the clamps are in the way. So we'll double check everything. It looks good. And now we have to transfer the hole through the drawer box into the back side of the drawer front. And I'm just going to use a 1/4 inch brad point bit, just like I drilled the hole, and I'm going to slide it from the inside of the box right into the back side of the drawer front. And I will use a mallet, dead blow hammer, and give it a little tap. And I'll go to the other side and tap that one. And I'm just using that sharp point to transfer a little mark so that I know where to drill. Now I'll take these top quick grip clamps off. We'll look at the inside, and there's a little tiny dimple right there, and that's where the drill bit transferred the center. And there's another one there. And now we can drill a pilot hole. If we don't drill a pilot hole, we will damage the wood. The screws will break off. And what I've done is I have a tapered countersink bit here with the countersink point part removed, and I put a piece of tape on there. We don't want to drill through the front of our drawer front. So I'm going to stop at the tape and drill right on those little prick marks where the drill bit marked it. You have to pre-drill in hardwood. There's no way around that. There we go. There's our hole. There's a little bit of lifted grain there, so I'll pick that off. If you leave with some torn wood fibers there, sometimes they will prevent the drawer front from tightening up snug to the drawer. We'll clean all the dust out of there. And we will now install it. Two of the cabinet screws, and I leave the gauge block on the bottom just because that helps me make sure that I have it nice and tight. And I will put the screw in from the inside. Just get it started on one side. Go to the other side, get that screw started. And now I can take the gauge block off. I'll save that for the next cabinet. And now this front is on there, but I can move it a little bit, almost 1/8 of an inch right and left and up and down. I'm looking for it to be flush here, and when I install the other door, we'll make sure that it's flush and lined up there. It looks like we have a pretty good overlay. I'm going to tighten them up just a little bit more. Now I'm going to install the door so we can compare the alignment. This is where a situation where the European hinges are really helpful. They just clip in so fast and so easily that it's easy to remove them. Put them on, take them off. There's our door. It looks like we got it pretty good. It might be a little high on this corner, so we'll lower that down. I can just push it a little bit. Oh, went too far. Bring it up, and then slide the drawer out and snug them down tight. We'll double check it. Oh, it moved. go. We can measure. We're 1.5, 1.5, and 1.5. They line up or vertically as well. And that looks like a pretty nice drawer front. And there we have it. A lovely cabinet with 2 drawers and 2 doors.